Welcome to another episode of Personal Talk. I am your host, Julian Orahana. This show is hosted by JRO Jumbled Radio Online. Thank you so much for hosting the show and letting me have a platform to speak my personal thoughts and, with this personal time. Today I kind of wanted to discuss the good side of religion and why we should be more open to the good people instead of focusing on the shitty ones. And again, I want to premise that I understand that there's a lot of shitty people that do shitty things with their religion, but I do believe that that is a small portion, or at least a misled portion that, does the teachings poorly. It does their religious texts poorly, like it gives them a poor name, and they're not really spreading the sentiment of peace, the belief of, unity and love that each religion is supposed to give, or has the goal of giving, because most of the religions that I've known or have experienced in terms of people around me or myself is that we just want to harmonize together and have a belief to peace and to love and to make sure that we're not hurting each other. It's just, when you start to become an extremist, and not even an extremist where you're killing people, just like an extremist where you're for example, like a super fan in a fandom. Once you get to that aspect of thinking, you get very defensive. And I understand that there are these people around the world who get very, very defensive about their religion and are not as open as they should be to letting people live their own lives and live their own truths. So I understand those people exist. I just want to pinpoint with this podcast. This episode, I want to pinpoint the good people out there who are practicing their religion well, who are actually being good examples to their own teachings. And the people that I'm going to be talking about are going to be from Christianity or Catholicism, because those are the ones that I've experienced more. Everyone else who practice, let's say, who are like Jewish or Islamic or who are Hindu in faith, I just know them to be good people. I've never really had a problem with them. Their religion never really bothered me or anyone. They kind of just do their own thing and live their life pretty well. I've also never seemed to judge anyone who is Islamic or Hindu or whatever, or, even like, I can't name another religion, but like those people, I've never seen them to have a problem with me personally. I always get brought to the extremists that I kind of look down upon. No, I very much look down upon the extremists. The normal people that are around me in my daily life here in New Zealand, those people, normal people, lovely people. So yeah, we'll just preface with that. I really wanted to not only help people understand that there is a good side to religion and religious people, but also to remind myself that there are good people and that religion isn't a huge red dot or red paint when it comes to, judging character. Because it's not fair to judge character based on belief and based on your own belief that the religion that they have are teaching the wrong things. I look down upon people in the LGBTQ plus community who hear the word Christianity or Catholicism and just instantly clock out and tell you that you're wrong. Even in the LGBTQ plus community, the extremists there that are extremely defensive with good reason, like they were obviously hurt in the past, and they're obviously a culture that, not even a culture, they're just a type of person that was condemned for a very long time because of religion. But the ones that actively hate it or actively try to stop people from believing, those people need to stop, because those people trying to stop that or repress or suppress religion are becoming the people who were religious suppressing the LGBTQ plus people, right? And this is not a lot of people. This is just a very small amount, but very, very vocal amount. And I'm going to say it right now. I don't like those people that tell people they can't do certain things. I don't care if you're a minority. I don't care if you're LGBTQ plus. You are perpetuating the thing that you hate the most in terms of telling people to stop doing things that aren't necessarily hurting others. okay, if it's hurting others, obviously you can speak about it, but like from personal experience, I've been condemned for just being religious, even though if they knew my character, even though if they knew that I was a person who was trying to be better. Like, I'm not a horrendous person. I do bad things, sure, and I make mistakes, sure, but I've been condemned just for saying, hey, I have this faith. And it's not really right to do it because I'm not going to condemn you if you say, hey, I'm gay or whatever, you know? And again, I understand it's a very small, it's a very small, it's a minor, but it's a vocal but minor set of people. So I get it. Like there's a lot of you out there who are very good, who are very nice, who are very open and very loving. It's just I just can't. I can't with the ones that aren't. You know. So back to the topic at hand. What kind of prompted me to make this episode? What kind of prompted me to make this discussion was that I was at a bus. I was going to university one day, and this is still me before surgery, with the knee injury, with my ACL torn, with my meniscus bothered, and I walked around in one crutch because I needed help to get upstairs. So I was chilling at a stoplight, taking my time because I don't want to rush it and be caught in the middle of the road when it turns green. So I wait for the next one, and once it turns green, a guy walks up to me and he asks about the injury. I took off my earphones, put it around my neck just to lay it there, and I'm like, "Sorry, what did you say?" And he's like, "Oh, what was your injury? How did you do this? How bad is it?" And I go, the usual. I tore my ACL. I tore my meniscus. I was playing frisbee. Yeah, blah, yada yada yada. Kind of a weird sport, but it's a sport I love and I do and whatever. And he's like, "Oh, that really sucks, but it's nice to see you that you're walking around and going to do university and whatnot, and it's very strong of you." And he goes to ask me what my faith is, if I believe in God and whatever. And I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'm Catholic. I sort of believe, sort of practice, but have some very differing thoughts to the general population." And he's like, "Oh, that's fine. That's very good. It's very good of you to ask questions and to kind of challenge the people that are surrounding you instead of being one of the sheeps." And he's like, "Yeah, that's very good. Um, Weird question. Can I pray for you?" And I'm like, "Oh, this is automatically after hearing 'Can I pray for you?' I'm thinking, oh, I'm definitely gonna be sat down and told and be invited to go to a youth group or whatnot." And I'm just like, I don't know about this. I can't really deal with another sit down and people trying to convert me to their faith. So it's just very weird. But I was also just I had time before class. I took the bus like an hour early before class just so I had time to get there and whatnot. And I knew I had time, so I was like not in the mindset to make an excuse or whatever. So I was like, "Yeah, I'll let you pray for me. I'll go sit down with you." And we go and we talk about what we're studying and whatnot. And once we find a seat in a very public space, I chose a very public space just so I can exit or pull people apart in case I'm being forced to join a group again. Um, he gets to one. He obviously he's very nice. He asks me for consent and everything that he did. And this isn't sexual. He was just he asked me if he could lay his hand on my knee while he prayed. And it sort of went like this. So when we sat down, he came over and was like, "Hey, do you mind if I lay my hand on your knee and do the prayer?" And I'm like, "Sure, do whatever you want. It's not weird for me personally, but you can do it." So he does the prayer. It's a very nice prayer. Asks for it to be healed on the spot. And the weird thing is, he asks me to stand up. And I stand up, and I'm like, oh, obviously the knee's still not fixed. Um, in my mind, I'm like, if I stand up and my knee's fixed, I've met Jesus. Like, this is the next Jesus, and I finally met him, and this is going to be the most insane moment if it was fixed. Stood up, wasn't fixed. I made the excuse to him that he asked if it was how I was feeling, and I said, it's still a bit sore from the morning. I can't really tell right now. I'm afraid to walk on it, etc. And he was like, okay, that's cool. If it's still a bit sore, I'll do another prayer. So he does it again. does a new one and asks me to stand again. And at this point, I'm like, I don't want to hurt his feelings because I know that he has a strong belief that God could probably heal me on the spot. And if God wanted to, if it was his plan, it would be healed on the spot. But I'm like, bud, this is not, I don't know if this is happening. You don't seem like the next Jesus. So, sorry. And I was like, yeah, it's not, I don't know if it's going to work or not. Um, I apologized, like, because I was kind of empathetic. And I could see he was disappointed. So he was like, okay, that's fine. Am I allowed to just finish off with like a general prayer for your well-being in your future and whatnot? And I'm like, yeah, I'll let that happen. That's cool. And he does this prayer, and he looks out for, he wishes me well for my future endeavors, if it's teaching or if it wasn't. He wished for my surgery to go well. He well, and when I say wish, I mean he asked God to look after me throughout this entire time, this trying time. And it was a very nice, very sweet moment. And when he was done with the prayer, I thanked him because obviously it felt like a good prayer. And I said thank you so much. But like, the shitty thing of me was I was making sure that my things weren't being stolen. I wasn't very in the moment when I was dealing with this man, because I've experienced different people walking up to me and talking about church stuff where it was just very hard to say no. So I just kind of had my preconceived notions of negativity towards him. And sure enough, once the prayer was done, he shook my hand, wished me well. I wished him well. I thought he would, invite me to a group or whatever, but he just said, "Have a good day, see you around," and just walked away. And when he walked away, I was stunned because there was no sign of him wanting me to join a group. He didn't ask for anything in return. He didn't even ask for a prayer in return. He just said, "I'm going to pray for you." And essentially, if you're not religious, what the dude did was just give me good vibes and wish me well, right? And for him to be very religious, very God centered as it seemed, he put his efforts and his religion to a stranger that seemed like needed help. And honestly, that's like the best side of religion, because he didn't know me. He didn't expect me to do anything. He just wanted me to be better. He wanted me to thrive. He wanted me to be amongst this world as a better person. And that honestly is one of the good sides of religion. Like, this man, God knows what his religion was. I know he's some sort of Christian, but he didn't specifically say, but he is like the perfect example of spreading the word and spreading the teachings without having to bring you into the church, because that literally flipped my entire thinking of religious people or random Catholics that ask them if they could pray for you, because they do it out of their own goodwill. They send good vibes to you out of their own goodwill, and it's kind of amazing. Like, if that was what religion was supposed to be, then I'm surprised that, well, I'm not that surprised, but we could be in a world where everyone acts that way. If the teachings were so strong and so true to people where they wouldn't, defend your religion or force them down, we would be in such a good place. What else do I have in my notes? And he just, I don't know, he's so good. I couldn't deal with it, man. He was very nice, very, very good, and just brought me a lot of faith that there are religious people out there who can essentially live by the word or live by their own teachings to be good and lovely people without expecting anything in return. And they were not just being good to other Christians and other Catholics or whatever. They're being good to just people in general. Because that's what I try to be, right? So at the beginning of the cast, I said that I am religious, but I'm questioning. There's a lot of things in the Catholic Church that I very much disagree with, and there's a lot of things that the community perpetrates and exemplifies in such a poor way that I start to fade away from it. And this comes from an experience with a certain church group. I've been to multiple church groups, so if you're listening and you are from the whatever church group you think it is, come talk to me. We'll sit down and discuss. But this is how I felt through it. So this church group was meant to be, well, I haven't gone to a church group since I was 16, 17, maybe 18, I guess. And I hated each one because each church group would essentially not be about the religion, would not be about God, would not be about Jesus. And the specific one was the one I thought, hey, this is finally the one where we can explore and discuss and, put these teachings into our lives. But it turned out that this group was just another. I mean, I understand it's a social group. You want to learn people and get to know them who have the same faith, but like everything about this group was incredibly fake, incredibly bad, and just incredibly against the Bible and against the teachings because there was a lot of gossip, there was a lot of talking behind people's backstabbing. There was a social hierarchy that you needed to get up in. There was the popular kids that just because you were popular, it meant that you were religious and you were like the most holy people. And I understand that people make mistakes, and I understand that people need to learn, and no one's perfect, and no one's going to be religiously perfect, but these people are not perfect, yet they condemned everyone else who isn't perfect. Like they saw themselves as the perfect people, and whoever wasn't in their eyes their friend or, popular enough to get them somewhere were just called imperfect and not worthy. Um, I had a lunch with one of these people after I quit the group after a very long time, and I talked about, my experiences drinking and how one of my worst nights, but also my best nights, was when I was incredibly drunk and I was throwing up on the sidewalk. And this girl condemned me for it, and she was like, I can't believe you're being irresponsible. That's not what God would have wanted, and stuff like that. And I'm sure, surely, I understand the sentiment that it's not what God would have wanted, and I get that it was a bad thing to do to, overindulge in alcohol, but she does the same thing, or at least bragged about doing the same thing before. She even bragged about it like at the beginning of the lunch, and I was very perplexed to see that she wouldn't empathize with me or say, "Yeah, I was there with you," or like, not there physically, but like, she was there in that state like I was before, and would say, well, we can move on and learn from this. She was like, no, you're a piece of shit because you did this, and I can't believe you would do that and go against religion. When she would do that same thing, she would even underage drink and got and like be proud of it. And I was like, there's a lot of hypocrisy when it comes to this church group, and there's a lot of bad when it comes to this church group, and I just don't understand how you don't see the hypocrisy, how you don't see the bad. Like, even when I would try to discuss it with her, she wouldn't accept that she was being a hypocrite. And I understand that I could be a hypocrite with what I'm saying right now. I also do understand that my feelings towards the church group, or whatever this was probably due to me being extremely judgmental in my own right. Um, Maybe I wasn't socially good enough for them, or wasn't in such a good state. But I don't like it. The parents who are running this thing need to understand that there's so many things wrong with the group, and that they need to teach these kids how to properly grow through Christ instead of gossiping and backstabbing, and teaching it like another, and treating this group like another high school. Like, I was made fun of because I wanted to talk about the readings. I wanted to like and analyze and look at things. Like, my personality. I have a show called Overanalyzing Things. I wanted to analyze these readings and see how I could put it into my life. But no, I was just made fun of it. I was just, seen as the weird kid. There was another kid who was extremely religious and did everything well inside the group, but he was deemed weird and socially not acceptable to talk to. So like I can't, man. I just couldn't understand that group at all. There are some lovely people who come out of that group and who actually do this stuff. It's just, again, these minorities have And I say minorities not in the derogatory racial term. I say minorities in the actual number term of little amount of extremists inside religious groups. I just can't deal with them. I can't, because they're not willing to have a conversation with me. They're not willing to talk. And just, yeah. Please be like that first guy. Please be the dude who just spreads the word and is nice and is lovely because the Bible encourages that. Not because the Bible forces it or not because the Bible told you. It encourages that we should be able to live in peace with each other rather than, tearing each other down for our own betterment. Like, I just can't. I totally went off topic with what I wrote in my Word document. I have so many other things to discuss and to talk about, but that could be on another episode. Let's see what I have. Not a lot else, actually. I could just go over this. Yeah, I can go over this in another episode. What did I write for the close off? Overall, the reminder to take people case by case and not by the whole of their Yeah, okay. So that's the thing. These people should be treated case by case rather than as a whole. And there are many cases in that church group where I can easily see things going wrong and I can easily judge them to be not good for the religion or not good as ambassadors of Christ. But there are people in that group, case by case, a large portion, well, not even a large, there are certain people in that group who are very, very good in terms of everything. Yeah, no, this just turned into a cast where I was condemning that group and praising that one guy. If anything, if you're going to take away anything from this group, I would just encourage you to, take it case by case, see that these people are individuals and they're not defined by their entirety of a community. They're not just one community. They're not another cog in the wheel, in the spanner. Fuck, I don't know what it's called. They're not just sheep, as a lot of people would think. We need to just explain and understand that, we need to question and understand that everyone is different, everyone is a case by case, and that there are also a lot of good people out there who are religious. We just see the bad ones, and we need to take a step and just be good with the ones who are good, because they're the ones doing good. Goddamn. Anyway, TLDR, case by case. Look at the people who do good things and make sure that they know that they're doing good things. Talk to the people who are doing bad things and make them aware so that they can change. Let's not condemn religion. Let's not condemn religious people. Let's treat each other like equals, like we want. And let's, make a judgment when we're able to make a full judgment. Anyway, thank you so much for listening. This was extremely jumbled. So you are welcome, Jumbled Radio Online. And thank you so much, Jumbled Radio Online, for hosting another episode of Personal Time. I have been your host, Julian Orejana. You can find me on the socials, Julian Orejana17 on Instagram. You spell that JulianOrejana17. That's on Instagram and Twitter. I don't really tweet, but I do post on Instagram. You can find me on my poetry Instagram page, Rustlin and Writing. That's WRUSSLINANDWRITING. Right now, there should be a lot of poems on there to read. They're not my best poems, but those are the ones that I had to do for daily challenges. So go follow me on those. Subscribe to JRO on YouTube. Subscribe to JRO on Spotify. Hopefully, if I've uploaded on Spotify and SoundCloud, I will try to put this podcast everywhere else. And thank you guys again so much for watching. Please take everyone by case. Love each other out there. And have a safe and wonderful day.